The 10 Commandments of Grand Rounds 1. Thou shalt not be introduced. Opening amenities are often opening inanities. Winston Churchill. There is no need to introduce a Grand Rounds speaker. Traditional introductions are too long and soporific. They deflate the audience and do a disservice to the speaker. Stealing the golden 20 to 30-second window, a speaker has to engage the audience. Introductions to most Grand Rounds presentations are an academic version of reading the Miranda warning to a perp. The best method to introduce a speaker is to distribute the speaker's CV and other accomplishments prior to the event. A brief smartphone video by the chief the day before the presentation accompanies the CV. Like Moses descending Mount Sinai clutching the 2 tablets, the speaker approaches the podium, takes a brief look at the lay of the land, and begins their remarks. 2. Thou shalt not refer to the lavish dinner. It is traditional for in-person invited speakers to compliment the host institution by subtly mentioning the lavish dinner held the night before the Grand Rounds presentation. While the audience is in a cramped basement apartment after an 18-hour shift, eating warm noodles and stale matzo, the invited speaker is enjoying a gourmet meal of Arturo's famous veal piccata, paired beautifully with a pricey Sauvignon Blanc. Noted for a good nose, a hint of tannin, and a delightfully smoky aftertaste. Not to mention the cherries Jubilee and tiramisu, both of which precede the ever-popular after-dinner scotch, followed by an hour of chummy, high-level, self-congratulatory gossip. Of course, the restricted dinner invitation list is never divulged, causing attending staff to consider what they said or did that irritated the chief. 3. Thou shalt not use first names. It is extremely irritating to an audience when a speaker refers to a group of prominent investigators in the field using their first names only. Instead of Dr. Ignaz Smerlinger Normant and Dr. Alicia Fabermeyer, some speakers refer offhandedly to Ignaz and Alicia and their work on recombinant DNA, as if they were bunkmates at summer sleepaway camp. The psychological subtext of referring to major players by their first names is simple. Look at me. I can call them by their first names. Referring to internationally prominent researchers and medical big shots by their first names is demeaning, elitist, and offensive to the audience. 4. Thou shalt not speak longer than 40 minutes. A good friend once told me that the only person sincerely interested in what you are doing is you. This is true in life, and certainly for Grand Rounds topics. Grand Rounds experiences tell us that a speaker, no matter how brilliant, can only engage an audience for about 40 minutes. It took less time to hand down the 10 Commandments. It also tells us that one Homo sapiens, under any circumstances, cannot pay attention to another for more than 40 minutes. It is pompous and pretentious to speak longer than 40 minutes. 5. Thou shalt not read thy slides. Most Grand Round presentations are accompanied by a slide deck, as audiences have become more visual than verbal. Many slides are crowded with too much text. There should be no more than 3 or 4 bullet point words or phrases on any slide. The experienced speaker uses bullet points as titles for what should follow verbally. If a speaker reads slides to an audience, it assumes that the audience is illiterate. 6. Thou shalt not use 9-point fonts. If commandment number 5 is violated, it is compounded exponentially by violating commandment number 6. Grand Rounds are not visits to an ophthalmologist or DMV. 7. Thou shalt not compliment the residents. It is self-serving to throw out random compliments aimed at residents' brilliance during ward rounds. There is a bell curve in every department. Very few residents deserve hyperbolic accolades from visiting professors. 8. Thou shalt not refer to your family, vacation, or hobby. Spare bedraggled post-call attendings, residents, and medical students from pictures of fly fishing trips in Montana. Impress them with oratorical brilliance instead. 9. Thou shalt not utter the phrase, "That's a great question." Proper responses include, "That's an insightful question. That is difficult for me to answer honestly," or "An astute question. I'll have to circle back on that one." 10. Honor thy honorarium. An honorarium acknowledges presenting at Grand Rounds. It should be honored with a thank you email following presentations. Incorporating these commandments will enrich professional lives, just as original commandments guide personal lives.